Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Princess Interrupted, the podcast. I'm your host, Allison Ziggy. Let's dive in to talking about nervous system and dating. Dating is like an onion. Your beliefs about yourself in relationships contribute to the way that you show up in relationships. Let's say you're dating. It's always been hard. It's hard to get a text back. You're fighting back. These men aren't putting in effort. Whatever. Let's say that this is the story that you've created for yourself. This is what has been true. You bring this to the new relationship and you start to subconsciously put these expectations on the other person. Like, well, it's not going to work out anyway. It never works out for me. This guy's too hot for me. This guy's too successful. This guy's too whatever. You start projecting the past onto this person. Your subconscious mind wants to make you right, so it is going to reflect back that truth. And you're going to say, you know what, I knew it, I was right. Your subconscious mind doesn't care. It's very neutral. Like when you think about soil, it's neutral. It doesn't care if you're planting good seeds, like I'm the best thing to ever happen to this planet. That's like a really like high self perspective, I suppose, is to be like, yeah, like I'm a catch and a half. That's one that I like. It's like, I am such a catch. Anybody would be lucky to spend time in my energy. People literally pay to be in my energy. If I chose to spend my time with someone, they would be very fortunate to have access to me, especially an intimate relationship. Are you kidding? That is a very different self-image than what I used to have, where I used to look at dating and I used to be like, I hope someone picks me. What would have the subconscious thought have been before though? Like my subconscious thought before would have been like, all my other friends are married. I hope I find somebody soon. Oh my gosh, like I'm doomed. Anyway, I rewired all of this. First, I tried to do the work just manifesting the partner before doing the inner work. It's not that I manifested a partner and I lost them. It was just that like the relationship still didn't last. They were still in lesson territory as opposed to being these soul relationships that I was really desiring. I did manifest a lot of lessons. Like I manifested this relationship in New York and this guy had everything that I wanted on paper. I thought he was so hot. There was so much chemistry on so many levels. I was super attracted to him. And he just was an F-boy. And he basically played me. And I thought that I could just pretend everything was okay and that it would work out. Like I was just like, okay, if I just don't really rock the boat, if I just don't really call out his behavior. I was meeting with a shaman at the time and she's like, yeah, just like when he like resurfaces, like ask him if he's okay. Like worry about him, like flip it. Like don't make it about you, like make it about him. And I was like playing the cool girl who was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'll be here. It ended because the second the relationship got closer, he bounced. We were supposed to go on a trip. He asked me and then he like disappeared. I tell this story a lot because he gave me my best dating content. Like, thank you. I'm so grateful for that relationship because it gave me such valuable insight into the psyche of men who say they want to commit. And I feel nothing but gratitude for all my ex-partners. You know what I mean? Because they're soul lessons that you signed up for. And these are people that you like decided to learn more about yourself through. What a fun soul lesson is to like get to know yourself through the mirror and the perspective of another person. We put so many expectations on other people because we don't feel complete within ourselves. But when you take your power back and you're like, I am complete within me, and these other people are mirrors, and I get to decide how I feel in this situation with this person. Do I like the chemical components that are going on here? Does this feel like the kind of connection that matches what I'm looking for in a partnership? You need to listen to my last episode if you're like just wanting the fireworks, just wanting the blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking for like long-term sustainability and you're looking for a true partner, like the partner who's going to be there with you like on your deathbed, then you need to think really long and hard about what's important to you in terms of compatibility. The number one thing that I recommend people look for if you're looking for a long-term partnership is, are your values compatible? Do you want the same things out of life? You're going to be having conversations with this person about what school you send your kids to. You're going to be talking about where you live. I saw something online and like, this is kind of dark, but it's like this person will have to like get you through the death of both of your parents. This is going to be your emotional rock. Now, I never think that we should put all of that expectation on one person. That is literally a recipe to fail because it's not on anybody else to provide you with safety and security within yourself. He can text you 100 times a day and then he leaves and you feel like trash. Or he cannot text you. Your emotional state does not need to be regulated by an external person. You're making this person represent something about yourself. If you've really wanted a relationship for a long time, there's likely a way that you perceive people in relationships that's favorable to being single. Like you're viewing people in relationships as better than people who are single. So you cling on to this relationship for dear life, not because this is like the greatest person to walk planet Earth, but because this person represents something that you're not able to give to yourself. The real key here is to get clear on these beliefs within yourself. Like, is it ultimately true that people who are in relationships are happier than other people? No. Are they like living a better life experience? Not in my experience. And I'm not saying that I don't want to also have that life experience, but once I started to really pour into my own cup, make Allison happy, figure out what I liked, travel the world, dated all kinds of people to develop my preferences, and like even went outside of what I usually would have dated. And this is not me telling you to date down. If you're not attracted to him, you don't have to go out with him. You can just be friends with him. You don't need to date everybody. I typically date men who are like very successful. That's a pretty important quality to me because I am so ambitious and I have such big career aspirations. So I find a man who's really driven and in his purpose and has his shit together very attractive. I dated someone who was like a little bit less established. And what I found through this relationship was that I really do value that, and I really do need somebody who's like super ambitious. You're just observing yourself through the energy of someone else. And like through being in that relationship, it ended up being really healthy because I feel like I didn't put as much pressure on it. I was able to view myself favorably in the context of that relationship. If you're dating, you might be listening to this and you might be dating someone right now and you either feel him pulling away or you're like, how do I get him interested? How do I keep him interested? What do I do? I just want to share. You want to fail first and fail early and fail often in your relationships. This isn't telling you to like how to lose a guy in 10 days him. This isn't telling you to freak him out or creep him out. It depends on what you want, but here's how I approach it. I let the man lead. I approach it like this person's a friend, first and foremost. Like, I don't put a lot of expectations on the other person. You're just getting to know this person. You know nothing about this man. You really don't, especially not in an intimate context if you're just getting to know one another. Like, you really don't know who this person is. If you have like really heightened feelings at the beginning, that is you projecting your desires onto a human form, which can be a really dangerous place because he might not even ultimately be this person. You need to check yourself if you're like lusting, and not just lusting in terms of a sexual way. There's a term from this book that I had read years ago where it's talking about emotional masturbation. Like, don't do that. Like, don't picture your future. Do not waste your creative manifestation energy on calling it a specific person who you don't even know is a good person or not. You don't even know. Like, you don't have to force a match in that way ever. You really don't. And that is such a waste of your divine source energy. Like, please don't do that. That is literally putting someone else on a pedestal, and that is putting you beneath them, and that is setting yourself up to just get hurt. And that also shows that you don't view yourself very highly. If you're believing that you need to channel the divine to call in this person, you do not need to do that. Number 2, observing in your body what's going on. I have just noticed like certain sensations will come up in my body that are triggered and tied to previous limiting beliefs. And by limiting beliefs, I'm thinking back to the first guy who ever rejected me in high school. And I felt the feelings of the way that felt in my body probably for the first time ever. I'd done so much healing work and I thought like all the problems were based on my ex, and they like weren't. It went back further. And then I imagined in my mind's eye when I was doing this work, the time in kindergarten where the guy I liked hit me on my head with the name tag and I got in trouble. I had to go in timeout. These beliefs were creating a narrative. It is that silly. That is how the subconscious mind works. That subconscious mind like created a belief that it was unsafe to have feelings because I had feelings. I got hit in the head with a name tag. I got put in timeout. And it wasn't even my fault. I started to cry and I never fully felt that emotion through. I either didn't have the tools, didn't have the space, it wasn't safe. And so that got stuck in my body and reiterated a narrative that was creating unsafe relationship patterns. You'll have associations within your body of when you feel these feelings, it means this. When you create new neural pathways, you can create different associations. This is all about you. This isn't about what do I say to get him to text me back. I want to throw up even saying that. Like, ugh. I never want to come off like I'm like screw men, like we hate them. Like, no, we don't. At least I don't. Like, I really don't. And I think that men have been going through it as well with these shifting paradigms and like shifting expectations, and a lot of it's for the good. Patriarchy's done a lot of bad, but I also think they're also reliving how to be in this world as well. And I think the key to everything is communication. One of the podcasts I really like is Case Kenny. Whenever I feel a certain type of way, I will put him on because I feel like he just really helps me to think through things. I like the male perspective in addition to the female perspective of processing things. One of his ideologies that he had shared was the person who cares more wins, because we always hear about this, whoever cares less wins. And it's funny, there was this quote from Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. It's like an old movie, not old, but like millennial old. This used to be like my Facebook quote. Okay, so it says, the power in relationships lies with whoever cares less. And he was right. But power isn't happiness, and I think that maybe happiness comes from caring more about people rather than less. I love this quote because when you're in a relationship with somebody, you're getting to know them. Why would you want them to like a fake version of you who you have to audit and edit? You are siphoning your energy by not being able to say what you actually want to say. That sounds exhausting. That's also based on the limiting belief that you can get it right or wrong. Through all of the inner work that I've been doing, the one belief that my higher self really communicated to me was just, you can't get it wrong with the right person. And not that there's like right or wrong people, but if you think about it, relationships are soul assignments. These are people who have been sent to you. You are learning about yourself through the mirror of another. I like to believe that we had contracts before we came to this earth. We had an agreement. Like, there was something that we were going to do together. There's a certain purpose for this soul connection. Not everyone is meant to last forever, obviously. It doesn't even mean that a relationship's successful if it lasts forever. I believe that if you have this desire for long-term sustainable partnership, it's because it's in your soul contract. It's something that you're like ultimately desiring. And I have just been so much happier when I've just let people be who they are. As I had mentioned earlier, when I was dating that guy in New York, like, I definitely have some moments where I like cringe and I'm like, oh my God, girl, like why? Why do we say that? Why do we let this go on for so long? But then there's other moments where I'm like, I'm so grateful for him because he gave me my best content, but he also like helps me grow so much within myself. Who I was able to be as a result of the challenges that I faced in that relationship is something that I feel immense gratitude for. Genuinely, I'm so happy that I learned those lessons. I'm so happy that it didn't last forever because I know I would have been unhappy looking back now. You will be okay, regardless of the outcome of any relationship. When you've got your own back, you're not going to be completely devastated by this ending. Be so for real if you're listening to this and you're like, but he's pulling away, he hasn't been texting me. Like, you are going to be okay. What you need to do is let yourself feel through the feelings completely, noticing where they're at in your body. You need to breathe through them and let them completely through. You can lean into energy work. I do a lot of Reiki. I also do a lot of like running the energy, like letting the energy flow through. The reason I started coaching on dating is because I used to literally feel like water was being poured on the circuit board of my nervous system when I was dating. Dating would send me into such a crazy emotional sequence because I had disorganized attachment style growing up, because of my parents' divorce, because of the type of psychological abuse that I experienced when I was little. Relationships became an incredibly unsafe part of life, and it became the area where I struggled the most because of what I had to learn. That's why I'm able to teach this to you. I also think that I was different than a lot of people expected me to be. I think over time I've embraced my true nature more, so guys know what they're getting themselves into, but I like felt weird. I was worried that guys were gonna think I was weird if I was the real me, and so I would say something or let my guard down or do too much, and it would freak me out and it would cause my nervous system havoc for a really long time. I can't even imagine if I still drank and tried dating like that. That's something I know about myself, and that's my responsibility to communicate. Certain partners will trigger your nervous system more than others. And a heightened nervous system state, or these butterflies, there's something to observe. It's not a predictive sequence. It's not like if you feel this, it necessarily means this person's 100% bad for you. You can interpret the cues. You can look at, when have I felt this way before? Does this ultimately feel like a safe partner? You can look at the details and use your contextual clues, but you can also use your intuition when you're dating and being like, okay, but do I trust myself regardless of the outcome? And if you don't, then hit me up and hire me as your coach, because dating doesn't need to be so dysregulating. I honestly don't know how people would date without these tools. I literally don't, because I'm gonna be so for real with you. I think that, like, I have had relationships where I have not had any emotional triggers, but it felt like there was an element of playing it safe. And that's not to say if you're ancient, dive headfirst into the avoidant types, because that's also like a different type of nervous system havoc, and your energy is your biggest resource. So why would you hand over the keys to someone who doesn't deserve it? The shaman that I worked with in the past, she once said, like, when you're having sex with a guy, you're basically giving him $10,000 because of how much access to your energy you're giving to him. So if you're giving this man $10,000, you better make sure that the lessons are worth $10,000. I believe that you can really use the information you learn to become the best version of yourself. If someone triggers you and you're like waiting by the phone, don't get mad at yourself. Don't try to suppress the feeling. Like, I understand how painful it can feel in the moment, but use it as intel. Use it as information where you still have gaps in your subconscious mind and in the way that you're perceiving yourself. Use it to identify, what do I need to feel happy and safe in a relationship, and how can I give that to myself now? And use it to develop your preferences. Not in a revenge way. You're not like, this man's not texting me back, I need a good communicator. Get clearer. This is like a prime opportunity. I hope you loved this episode. This really highlights some really important key pieces of, like, when you're dating, when your nervous system feels like it's on fire, how to approach relationships from a mental perspective where you're not approaching this needs to be my end all be all super fairy tale. The person that you date is probably going to end up triggering you the most, not necessarily in terms of it being an unsafe, incompatible match, but in terms of being like someone you have to really grow and face yourself with. Dating can be fun, but it is such an accelerated form of healing and inner work. And it's fun, but I genuinely do not know how you do it without tools. That's why I would love to help you. I have a bundle that I put together. I called it the Love Portal. It's 7 amazing masterclass videos where we talk about everything from, like, is it a soulmate? Is it a karmic? Is it twin flame? There's some prerequisite guides on there if you, like, have to clear your heart before calling in a soulmate. There's all kinds of witchy manifestation rituals for calling in a man, like new moon, new man. We have a new moon coming up this week, so I would definitely suggest diving in this week. And then I also have a special, if you want to add on a soulmate session on top of that, you'll get a soulmate session for a discounted rate. I am accepting new clients as well. You really want to rewire this. You want to call in your man. You want to, like, really go to the next level. You're talking about committing to a relationship, so the commitment's going to be the vibe. I'm going to include all the links in the show notes. I love you so much. Make sure you're following along on Allison Ziggy. Like, subscribe, follow. Been loving my YouTube community. I have all kinds of meditations, resources. You can do the bundle. There's also all kinds of freebies in my library that you can access. Podcast is poppin', Instagram's poppin', new clients. I hope you have an amazing day. Let me know how you love this episode. I hope that this helps. I hope that you brush yourself off and remember who you are and are like, yeah, I deserve great love. If somebody's triggering my nervous system, I'm going to use it as intel and information that I can learn about myself. I'm going to remember who I am, and I'm going to let this be an experience that makes me even better. Love you so much.